clearly, we have said that as the economy implodes, as they launch these new wars, that they would then bring in stage terror. And this death of bin Laden is a psychological resurrection of him. Then they introduced the 4 new bin Ladens, 3 of which on record trained in the U.S., 2 of which on record absolutely worked for the federal government at the highest levels of black ops. And they're so arrogant, it's just admitted everywhere, but still it's not kosher to point that out. So they're rolling them out just like they did pre-9/11. I'm seeing the exact same preconditioning. So maximum, total red alert. Everyone, and in fact, I'm going to ask Aaron Dykes to do this next hour. We need to get the White House number, the Congress number, the switchboard, launch Operation Expose the Government Terrorist, Part 2. I haven't done this in 10 years, since July of 2001. Maximum total alert, ladies and gentlemen. You must call them. We need to get an article out today or tomorrow by one of the great researchers there, pointing all of this out with the phone numbers, and call them. We need links in the articles to all these White House advisors like Robert Shapiro and the Financial Times of London saying a terror attack would sure help us. It'd sure be great. Obama's got to get in Oklahoma City or 9/11 so he can get his New World Order. We need all those Republican neocons that wrote editorials saying how great September 11th was. See, they're all communicating with each other like we're too stupid to see it, begging for it, calling for it. All that stands between the New World Order, just taking all the pension funds, launching World War III with Pakistan. They've got nukes. Every analyst says it will probably trigger World War III, not may. This is also part of framing Pakistan. It always has a geopolitical, external foreign policy element than the domestic policy. They like full spectrum win-win-wins. I want everyone to listen to me very carefully right now. Please take this to heart. All that stands between free humanity, our children, the innocent people, the folks on fixed incomes, people on Social Security, people that have paid into public and private pensions. The globalists have done this in every other country they've fully taken over. The only thing that stands between us and real hot tyranny, I mean the arrest wagons going around, the FEMA camps being filled, mushroom clouds, the only thing that stands between us and that is we the people look in the mirror. If you look at the mainstream media, hundreds of newspapers, prestigious establishment magazines are lowering their guns on us from their pile of cess and firing at Infowars.com, Alex Jones, Dr. Pachenik. We are the resistance. When we come back, we're going to talk about this. You are the resistance, folks. You are the resistance. Don't underestimate the power that you have. We'll be right back with...
We're at another red alert. Those of us who have known 9/11 was a false flag event, those of us who have known the bin Laden shadow puppet enemy is a hoax, have been beating the drums for almost a decade, but it's time to stand up again and tell them to stop. Do not stage new terror. We need to let them know. We know what's going on. We know the bin Laden death is a hoax. We have expert Steve Pachenik coming up in the next segment. But we need to call the White House. We need to call Homeland Security, contact them at their online reports, let them know. The White House number, again, is the comment line, 202-456-1111, 202-456-1111. The switchboard number is 202-456-1414, 202-456-1414. Let them know we know who the real terrorists are, and we don't want to see another state's attack like 9/11. Do you think calling the White House, trying to reach out and let them know that people understand what's going on, is that a good first step? And how do we reach a tipping point, sir?
I like what you did, and I think the American public should do that. I think they should call their senators and their congressmen and their state senators, and I think there should be a response. If there is not a response, then the American people understand we need to have a third party. Secondly, I think the veterans of America should really organize together along with their families to say, you know, we don't really have a legitimate third party which expresses what we want. We will not accept this nonsense between the Republicans and Democrats, which seems to be nothing more than just shifting hats. From the point of view of the extremist, you would see a false flag, but as I said to you before, it's a very dangerous concept for anyone and that's why I'm saying again to my colleagues in the intelligence community and the military community, if they're even thinking, just thinking of doing a false flag. It's a very dangerous consideration because this country is not the same country it was in 2001 when they pulled a false flag and stand-down operation. Everybody knows now what stand-down means, what a false flag. If for any reason there happens to be something that even smells of a false flag, they will have a very serious disturbance in the United States populace. And I don't think Obama understands it. I don't really think many of his coterie do. But fortunately, there are some very bright people in the White House, and they know who they are, and they're listening to me, and they understand. I think it's best that they cease and desist this absurd narrative of the attack on a mortuary to get a body that was dead for 10 years and just stop it. The American public doesn't buy it. They don't want it. Let's talk about the real issues, which is a deficit. The biggest national security problem, without a doubt, is right now our economy.
Again, I was on television saying that bin Laden's a CIA asset and looks like he'll attack New York. Saying, call Washington, tell them to call off the attack.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press at one of your little drills you had, and that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite, he's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system. I want the White House numbers up there now. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And you could save the planet. I'm calling it Operation Expose the Government Terrorist.